Welcome to Weed City. So, as you can see, a pretty full bed, and a lot of that is weeds. Yeah, a lot of that is one type of weed. It's this stuff here. It's called a creeping buttercup. It's a ranunculus. It's pretty invasive. I get it every year, but you know, we keep it in check. There's also a few dandelions mixed in there too. But the ranunculus seems to be keeping that in check by crowding them out. So, you know, when you're crowding out your dandelions that you've got a weed problem. So, just let me show you real quick how I'm going to weed this bed, how I'm going to do it doing the no-till method. And basically what that involves is cutting the weeds at what they call the root collar. So the root collar is where plant meets the soil. Basically, just cut them off right at the top. Obviously, this doesn't get rid of a lot of weeds, but then comes the beauty of marrying the lasagna gardening method with the no-till method. Once you've cut, you know, all your weeds down at the root collars, and all you have left is the vegetables you want to grow, you then throw in a layer of organic matter, a mulch, on top, and you smother those weeds so that they don't come up, or at least they don't come up as vigorous. So that the next time you have to weed, it takes you, you know, a third of the time. And then you do that again, and that takes you a third of the time. Then all of a sudden, you don't have a weed problem anymore. All you have is the vegetables that you grow above that mulch layer. So I'll go ahead here and show you a close-up of how I would cut down some of this weed, some of this ranunculus, and then I'll spend 10 minutes on this 4x8 bed. And let's see how much of it we can get cleared using the no-till weeding method. So, as you can see, I haven't disturbed the soil at all, and I've cleared about a 6-inch by 6-inch square area of this very, very noxious weed. Took me about 10 seconds. So let's see in 10 minutes how much of the bed I can get done. Oof, it's getting hot out, but there you go. 10 minutes and I weeded this entire 4x8 bed that you could see was pretty disastrous in terms of weeds. Probably more poundage of weeds than there were vegetable plants. But 10 minutes using the no-till method, cutting off at the root collar, and I managed to get the bed done. Let's see what it looks like. So there you go. That's what the bed looks like. Some of the plants, particularly the chard, was actually using the weeds as support, so a lot of them have fallen over, but they're tough plants. They'll shoot straight back up. I'm not worried about that. There's a lot of blank spots, you know, left there where the weeds were growing, and so now we have a couple of options of what to do to clean that bed up even more. So what I'd normally do with this bed is I would take the next batch of grass clippings and shredded leaves and, you know, even shredded up twigs and stuff, and I would mulch that. I would mulch that whole bed amongst the vegetables. Clean it right up, it would look fantastic, and it would choke out any of the new ranunculus that's trying to shoot through. But with this bed this year, I'm going to try something different because I love trying new things. I have a few extra flats of Italian basil that I've been growing. Yeah, probably about 200 plugs. So basil is a great ground cover. So instead of throwing in an organic mulch just to sit on top, why not replace the living mulch, which was the weeds, with another living mulch, which is basil? And basil is awesome. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll save that for another video, but let's discuss what we can do with the few pounds of weeds that I collected. All right. Whoa, jeez. All right, so I've got my stack of weeds that I just weeded using the no-till method. A couple videos ago, I redid a raised veggie bed using the lasagna method, and I didn't have any mulch, so I left it with a layer of newspaper waiting for the next, batch of lawn clippings. So, as luck would have it, we now have a bunch of weeds, probably just enough to do that bed, and you can actually see that bed in the background right there. So let's go ahead and cover it up. So here's the bed in question. It's got my new 6 aroma plants. I just redid the bed using the lasagna method. I'll put a link to that video down below so you can check out what that's all about. This is actually really cool because it shows how all of these methods of gardening are not mutually exclusive. They're all interconnected. They all play off each other. They all benefit from one another. The more that you can implement these methods, the better your garden will be and the more production that you will have. So let's go ahead and cover up this newspaper with some of the best green organic mulch that you can get. So, as you can see, the bed looks like a disaster. And the reason why that is the lack of contrast. I've put a mulch on there that is sort of the exact same color and angles and complexity of the plants that we're growing in there, especially tomato plants, because they look a lot like weeds. I just want to reiterate here that I'm not growing for aesthetics. I'm not growing an ornamental garden. I am growing as much organic vegetables in the smallest amount of space possible. The other thing is, and we didn't really observe the concept here today, is that whenever you pull a plant out of a bed, even if you don't pull it out, if you cut it like we did using the no-till method, you're pulling a specific set of nutrients out of that soil profile. And so in theory, you should be mulching that same bed with those leaves, because that bed will now be deficient in those very nutrients that were in those weed leaves. So I can kind of get away with that here because, I'm using the lasagna method, so I'm always adding rich compost. I'm mulching up to 4 to 5 times a year every time I crop. Even when I don't crop, if I get extra mulch, I'll throw it on a bed. So yeah, something to think about. If you find your plants are a little deficient, is it because you're weeding and you're not replacing those minerals and elements that the weeds took out of that soil? The last point that I'd like to make regarding this bed that we just weeded here, I know that the ranunculus is going to grow back. It's that plant's natural history. That's how it grows. Basically I just pruned it So it's probably thanking me, but you have to keep it in perspective. By the time that creeping buttercup comes back, it's just gonna be a cute little living mulch for my Romas and my zucchinis and my chard that are 4 and 5 feet tall. So I don't care if it comes back. And then when it's time for the zucchinis and the tomatoes and the chard to come out, late September, when I probably put in some peas or kale or whatever fall plant I want, I'll just throw layers and layers of newspaper and then start another crop. Easy peasy. No weeding, no disturbing the soil, just consistently building up that organic matter every time you crop. And it's really, really easy. It's low maintenance. It saves you money. It saves on watering. It grows you better vegetables. It's really the way to go. So 1 week later, you can see the mulch is completely dried up. The Romas are twice the size. And you no longer have that messy looking bed. Alright guys, thanks for watching. As always, leave any questions or comments down below. Do you subscribe to the no-till weeding method? If so, how have you found it? Is it working for you? Is it all that you expected it to be? Either way, leave a comment down below. Click subscribe if you haven't already. For those of you that have, I really do appreciate the support. And I'll see you next time. Oh man, raspberries off the vine. Unbelievable. As you can see, the I'm filming. I'm filming. Okay, you go away.